What's up, YouTube? I have something that I want to share with you guys. Um I know a lot of people on YouTube post Java mouse walls and how to make one. Well, I came up with a pretty. Let me turn this volume down. Hold on. So, uh, people are coming up with ideas of how to make a Java mouse, but I come up with a way that uh, makes the process much faster. If you want to create a Java mouse wall, uh, it's really simple. And if you want results the same day, if you want a wall the same day, then you should follow my instructions in the way that I think, um, would just give you instant results and an instant wall. So this is what I did. Now I thought about making a video of how I did it, but instead, because I don't want to waste a lot of time like a lot of people do when they say, okay, well, here's a Java mall, you need two meshes and all that. Well, I says, you know what, let me just show everybody, give them a basic idea of how to do it. And this is it. So here's what I got. I took one mesh, plus this way it's going to save you time and money. And you'll understand what I mean by that, other than the obvious. So this is my Java mouse wall. Okay, now it looks a little shitty right now because I have not filled it in completely, but that's okay because eventually it's gonna cover the whole tank. I just wanted to get this first square of mesh started, um, because I don't have to wait to see get results. I think this is gonna work for sure. Now, if you've seen some of my videos before on my channel, for this, you'll know that the moss that I have back here was on this tree, and you'll see the leftovers chunks that I left just because I did it really quick. They were all already rooted in here, and I mean the whole, I call it my little bonsai tree, was all covered in Java moss, and they were doing great. But I took them out and put them on the mesh, and that's when I came up with the idea. So you take one mesh, and the way you do it, the way you keep it in the mesh is you take fishing string and you lay it out all on the mesh, and then you take fishing string and you go every. It's up to you. It doesn't matter as long as you make it. You latch it onto the mesh with the fishing string, and you go. You don't have to go. Obviously, you're not gonna do square by square because that'll take you a long ass time, and that's gonna take a lot of fishing string. So basically what I did is I did like every 4 inches I started here, and every 4 inches I looped it around the holes holding the Java mouse. And so what happens is you get an instant Java mouse the same day you get your moss in, if you have all the material ready. And if you can see it, you can't even see the fishing string. It's pretty awesome. It's instant, right there and then. You just wait for it to grow. Obviously, you see the suction cups, but this is a new Java mouse. You noticed I trimmed it at the top and everything, and it's new not because I just got it in. It's because I installed it, and so you see it's a little brown because it went from going onto the tree onto the Java mouse. So it's now trying to adjust to its new home, if you will. And so but it's obviously like any plant, it dies off and it comes back really strong. Most of it you know didn't get as brown, but that's fine. It's gonna come back. That's just how Java moss is. If you know how Java moss, you know how this plant is and works. It's not a very delicate plant. So that's what I did, and let me get you guys closer here. This is what it looks like. It's instant Java moss. I mean, well, it's you can't ask for better than that. See where I trimmed it at the top? Please excuse the algae on the tank. And so, I have more in the bucket here to my right, where I'm gonna add more. So basically, that's what I did. This is no one on YouTube has this idea. I just came up with it one night, and I was like, man, why don't I just do that? And so I did it, and I mean, look at it. It looks great. Let me give you a different angle here. There's one of my Japanese algae eating shrimp. Just trying to get whatever scraps she can find in there. But I mean, it's an instant Java moss wall. You have it the same day. Just take your fishing string, put it through the hoops, latch it on real good, and it's there. You don't have to wait for it to grow out of the mesh like all the other videos on YouTube. It's already there, ready for display. The only problem I'm having is that sometimes the moss, whatever moss falls to the floor, like this one for example, when it does, and this plant is so hardy, guys. I'm even surprised now. I'm still learning how hardy it really is. If you just cut just a little piece off of just a small stem like that one for say, that will there just take root onto the dirt, and it will start to fight with the hair grass um, for its spot in the carpet. And so I have to like get each strand by strand, and you'll see some other strands here if I show you. It'll start to grow, and so then your carpet starts to be like a Java hair grass, uh, you know, carpet, which you don't want. I only want hair grass down here. But other than that, I have no problems. The only reason I have, sorry, I just got a call. The only reason I have the diffuser there next to the filter was only because I moved the Java moss from the tree to the mesh. I wanted to speed up the cycle of dissipating my CO2 into the water, which is basically, and I want to just slightly touch the subject on how plants pearl. Most people don't understand it, and they think, okay, so I have the right lighting, why aren't my plants pearling? Guys, in order for plants to pearl, your water needs to be saturated with CO2. In other words, you need to have more carbon dioxide in your water column than oxygen. And ways to prevent that when you have, for example, a DIY or a compressed CO2 system is allow very little water current gas exchange. Okay, so the less gas exchange you have, meaning if your filter, like if you see mine, I won't let the water get too low, so or if it gets too low, the water starts to splash in and bring in new oxygen into the water. If you do that, then you're allowing gas exchange, and so you're it's gonna take longer for your CO2 to um, dissipate into the water and really establish itself. Normally, it takes about 2 weeks when you set up a CO2 system to really establish into the water column. But if you just do, you can have a lot of water current, but within the water, under the water. But if you have it like this and your water's constantly streaming into the water, bringing those little oxygen bubbles you're seeing right now, you don't really want that. Um, so a lot of people say, well, if you have too much CO2, that'll kill your fish. Not as bad as most people portrayed it to be. No, it won't. I mean, unless you have it like ridiculously high, then you'll find those problems. I never came across that problem where my fish are dying because there's not enough oxygen in the water. As long as you have really good water circulation within the water, you can buy anything to make the circulation better in the water, then you'll be fine. So um, that's, if your water is too saturated with CO2, what the plants will do is it won't give the plant enough time. The production of oxygen would be more, but it won't be able to. The oxygen will not dissipate through the roots like with most plants. The oxygen just disappears into the water, and that's how they oxygenate the water. But when you have water that's saturated with CO2, you'll see the bubbles, and this is why plants burrow, because the oxygen doesn't have enough time to dissipate into the water, and so it just comes up as a little bubble, and that's why you see purling. This is why purling exists. But in the real world, I mean, in a real ecosystem out in the wild, you'll never see plants purling, because it was never. This is how you know you have a high-tech tank, because you change the environment. Obviously, in the wild, on real life circumstances, where these fish are native to, and plants including, you don't have large amounts of CO2 like we do in our tanks here at home, where we build them like this. So the oxygen dissipates as it should. So you don't see purling, but there's plenty of oxygen in the water. But if you guys have any questions on anything else, I just wanted to show you this new invention I came up with. It's a Java moss wall. I call it the instant Java moss wall. Just take fishing string and just go on every 4 inches or so, whatever you feel more comfortable. I will tell you, this is very time consuming to just get started. But once you have it all set like mine, then you'll see new growth right away. And because this moss feeds through the water column, because it's a stem plant like it is, it doesn't have a root system where it depends on high nutrient substrate. It just sits in the water like this. So, it's better than having two mesh, smashing it together, and then still expecting it to feed properly, which it won't. I don't believe it will. This is why when you do this method, the plants start to grow almost immediately and adapt very well, because they're still able to get circulation, opposed to having two meshes and being squished. They're gonna get real dark and brown. I did the two mesh one time. What ended up happening was the plants turned brown, real brown, and they really did die. I wasn't very successful at that. So this is why I came up with this idea. So yeah, just let me know what you guys think. If you guys have any questions on the instant Java moss wall, just let me know. It's my little bamboo shrimp. Alright, so talk to you guys later.